Hello, everyone. This is Jason Roggasch. Well, it's official. Dokar Sarnev today admitted that he did the Boston bombing and that he was sorry. He said that he was sorry to the victims in a statement, of course, that the trial is in public, so it was read to us by the media. He said that he was sorry to all the victims that he killed, that he did this thing, and he just is so sorry. And he actually said that he is a Muslim and that he prays to Allah and that he is sorry and that blah, 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 blah. This was a show trial from stem to stern. This was the Federal Bureau of Investigation yet again creating another terrorist attack. This one was just more public. How many people died in Boston? Quick. 10, 20, 30, 50, 100? 3. 3 people. They shut down the city of Boston for 3 dead people. More people die every day in gun crimes in Boston than died in this bullshit show of force from the federal government. Who's in charge? So we can have never-ending war in the Middle East over oil and heroin and other precious natural resources that exist in the Afghanistan area and the Iraq and Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Libya. Check out the Project for a New American Century. The people who planned 9/11, the people who gave you the justification to the upper class and the very, very powerful who had nothing to do with 9/11 but needed to be told why 9/11 happened. The Project for a New American Century documents are about taking over Egypt, check, all the way to, well, Afghanistan and beyond, to Iraq, to Iran. If you look at between what country sits between Iran, what country sits between Iraq and Afghanistan? Iran. Tough place to be if you're Iran. So you commit 9/11 to blame Afghanistan so you can corner Iran. I mean, it's pretty fucking simple. You already had Iraq from the first Gulf War, and now you have to do the 9/11 bombing so you can make an excuse to go and take over Afghanistan. This is all about global strategic positioning. This is about bigger things than you and I understand or have anything to do with. This isn't about the man on the troop. This isn't the troop on the ground. This isn't any of that bullshit. This is about the next 100 years. This is about empire. This is about who rules, who is in charge, who is the boss. And that is what this FBI thing, this bullshit trial of the Boston bomber was. First of all, he said he pled not guilty, but then once he's convicted, he flipped and said, I'm sorry, I did this, I'm a Muslim, I pray to Allah. He actually said it. Go look it up. You can see what he said for yourself. It's disturbing how they telegraph this for the dummies. Goebbels said propaganda has to be smart enough for the professor and dumb enough for the janitor. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's the truth. So you say, Sarnoff, Muslim, did this, bad. So now you can go to war overseas with any country that's pro-Muslim, vis-a-vis Libya, vis-a-vis what you did in Egypt, what you're doing in Syria, what's been going, what the Project for a New American Century talked about, what that bullshit book Clash of Civilizations talks about, what the Grand Chessboard from Zygmunt Brzezinski talks about. This is all Project for a New American Century. This is the American Empire, the British Western Empire for the next 100 to 200 to whenever years, infinitum. That's what the Boston bombings were about. Blaming a Muslim for killing Americans on American soil. That's what it is. And now you can go to war with those dirty, stinky Muslims because they deserve to die. Now, I think a lot of great researchers saw through that initially, of course. Some mainstream researchers that are, maybe not mainstream in the sense that they have been in the New York Times, but maybe they don't appear in the New York Times any longer. They pointed it out. I think the white guy with the backpack who Alex Jones was talking about and everybody, they were supposed to blame him originally. I think that was a red herring so they could set up the Sarnev thing, so they could get that going, so they could make sure that it was executed the way they needed, because they didn't want to blame white people. They don't want to blame domestic. That's not the point. They want to blame Muslims overseas so the American military can continue to do whatever the fuck it wants overseas to Muslims. And everybody in this country will support it because they killed people in our country. I mean, 9/11 was Muslims. Boston bombing was Muslims. I mean, it's pretty simple to see this. It's pretty easy to see it once it's all finished, of course. That's the end game. Blame Muslims. And of course, Sarnev did his part exactly like he was supposed to. He said, I did it, and I'm a Muslim, and I pray to Allah. I mean, it was really disturbing and despicable that they did this show trial, and that none of us got to see it, of course, and then they had the victims come in. And the victims, the 240, some of the 240 people that were injured, some of the victims came in, families of people, the 3 dead people. It's all a joke. It was all a show trial. There may have been really people injured. I'm sure there were. I'm sure there were actually people hurt. There are a lot of people that aren't involved. The judge isn't involved in the conspiracy. The prosecutor isn't involved in the conspiracy. The defense attorney isn't probably involved in the conspiracy. The people that are surrounding it, all the people that are surrounding the courthouses and the judiciary, and they're not all involved. So you have to have a show trial. So you have to go through this process, and you have to make it look. You have to dummy up evidence. You have to have the FBI and its weight. It's by the way. There's a great book written about how the FBI has basically planned for the last 10 years all of the terrorist attacks that have happened in the United States. From the Florida 9 or the Florida 6, the black kids who didn't have any money, and the FBI bought them boots and bought them guns and bought them knives and planned the whole thing for them and then busted them. It's same thing with the Millennium Bomber, same thing with all these other, not Millennium Bomber, excuse me, but the guy that was caught on, I guess it was a couple years ago in Times Square with, all of them are FBI. It's so the FBI can justify the federal government being in charge of the states. The states should control its own military. Then there would have to be a vote that would say, well, California, Nevada, Washington State, do you guys want to send your military? And they would say no. And then that would be the end of empire. No, we're not sending our military over to conquer people who did nothing, who never attacked anybody and never did anything just because of global strategic positioning. Geopolitical strategy is what it's, geopolitics is what it is. So don't buy into this shit. It was all a hoax. It's all a hoax. It happened. It was just the person that you think did it, and the reasons it was done for were 2 different reasons. And what we're being told by the press, of course, isn't true. And as a side note, the gentleman who covered the trial, or one of them for NBC, was Pete Williams. Pete Williams, of course, comes straight from the Pentagon. He was a Pentagon spokesman, especially during Iran-Contra. So these guys are the revolving door. They go from the government to the media, the national security state to the media, the national security state to the media, the media to the national security state. It's incestuous. It's disturbing. Jim Michalczewski is one of these assholes that does it. And these are the people that people listen to and think are telling them the truth. It's, if we can't decipher the truth for ourselves and we don't take the time to, it's like not exercising. I know you're busy, but you got to take 30 minutes or an hour out of your day to exercise. You have to. Even if it's at night right before you go to bed, you need to take the time because it's beneficial for you. It relieves stress. You lose weight. You look better, feel better, etc. Same thing with discernment. You must take the time to discern what's going on around you. If you don't, then you are doomed to be a fool and a dupe just like everybody else. And I'm talking about pro-hoax or anti-hoax. You need to discern it for yourself and find out for yourself if it's true. Not some government official who's been proven, the entities of the government, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who's been proven to lie to us over and over again. You need to go for yourself. You need to look at it for yourself and gather as much information as you possibly can. Use the trivium: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.